right, good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford is back from special assignment. Good morning, Margie.
Well, I tell you, Jim, I mean, it's hard being out in the, on the front lines like this. And I had to dodge a few bullets, but I'm back.
Well,
and I'm looking forward to giving a full recounting at a later date.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Sounds great. And we'll look forward to that, Margie. Before we proceed with our show, I just want to remind our listeners that the annual radio auction, it's the 62nd annual Bardstown Kiwanis Club radio auction, is this Sunday from 1 to 6 at the Nelson County Civic Center on South 3rd Street. Most of the items that are going to be auctioned will be listed in the Kentucky Standard and on the Nelson County Gazette.com. I don't have the list yet, but I will by Friday or so. So we'll be getting that and updating that information. If you are a local business and you'd like to donate to the auction, you can contact the radio station, and they'll be glad to help you. Like I said, the listings will be online at the Nelson County Gazette or in the Sunday edition of the Kentucky Standard. And you can call in your bids. The phone number for calling in, I know it's a little early, but it's a different number. It's 348-8719. And you can also go by the Civic Center, and of course you can bid in person, which is one way to make sure that you get that last bid on those items. And there's always some really great items up for auction, and it goes to a great cause. It's a great fundraiser. So be sure and listen this Sunday at 1 for the 62nd Kiwanis Club radio auction on WBRT on 1320 AM, 97.1 FM, and 94.9 FM. And also you can on Bardstown Cable Channel 19 and streaming online at WBRTcountry.com. And I look forward. I love the radio auction. It's I can't remember a time. Of course, the radio auction's as old as I am, Margie. So I guess I wouldn't remember a time when there wasn't a radio auction.
You're right.
But anyway, now, Margie, let's get on to our radio show. We have a beautiful Wednesday out there looking at us, and the weather looks great. I've got all sorts of yard work I could do the only thing I lack is the gumption to do it. So.
Well, if you find it and you find enough, you can come help me.
Well, I think I'll do some shopping afterwards and see if I can find a retailer that's selling gumption. All right,
believe me, it's in short supply.
Well, it is around our house, according to my wife. But that's another story for another day. All right. Well, Margie, today we're joined in the studio by our very, very, very special studio guest, Nelson Circuit Court Clerk, Diane Thompson. Good morning, Diane.
Thank you.
Well, there's change afoot, and we have been talking about the changes coming to your office for how many years now?
Well, since 2005, when the 9/11 Commission recommended and Governor Bush signed the bill. That's when, thank goodness, you all started helping me raise the awareness.
Yeah, we've had you on a number of times.
Yes. It's been a journey to get us where we are today, but.
Right, and the whole thing is about driver's licensing, and federally. New requirements were put in place years ago that your driver's license have to meet certain standards. And that's kind of been the driving force for all of the changes in all the states so every state has real ID, which is the term compliant driver's licensing. And I don't know if other states have had to go through the same issues we have, but I feel sure that it's been a learning curve in all the states.
Well, and Diane, Nelson County, you and Nelson County have been ahead of the curve here, and you've been doing this for years. So why don't you just refresh our memory on sequence of events and how this came about and how we came to be where we are at the present time.
Okay, I'll thank you for giving me this opportunity again to do that. And as you said, we have, is it good? I've been doing the Real ID requirements, requiring them for all out of country and all out of state citizens that moved to Nelson County since 1988. Long before the 9/11 Commission and long before any of this. But I could see the need at that point because of identity theft. I was seeing at our front counter, people would show up and they would get arrested for doing something and they didn't show to court, and they had not done that. It was someone else who had stolen their identity and used a driver's license to when they were arrested and then released and then gone, and then the innocent citizen gets a knock on the door. So I could see that as I served as a deputy clerk for 19 years, and in those years I could see that happening, and I was just like, my life theory is treat people the way I want to be treated. And I could see how this happened to innocent people, and eventually we got it straightened out. But a night in jail in front of your neighbors, being arrested, and your children, it's hard to it's hard to fix on that end. So I started trying to fix it before that happened. So I started making those requirements then, and then of course we had years of things about people stealing identity. So that just empowered me more, because I was the only circuit clerk in Kentucky to require this, because it is a lot of extra work on my office and my staff, and on the citizen to go get your birth certificate, get your Social Security card, you get proof of residence. But now, how many years later, that's what I required in 1988 is being required today, and that's what the Real ID is all about. So, let me see. Go from there. But I do want our citizens, very important to know that I didn't just, I really fought hard to streamline this process. I started in 2005 as soon as the law was passed, because I knew what an impact this was going to make on all other offices, because it is a lot more work for us to mandate and check those documents, make sure they're certified. You can't just take a copy of so all these things that my staff's been doing all these years was going to be required everywhere. So I knew that was going to be a major change for Kentucky. So I started working with Frankfurt and meeting with them, and it was also way out in the future for them. Sure. And they just didn't, and I was even told on multiple occasions, and I won't mention names, but people that were in charge would say, we're not going to do that in Kentucky. But now that was in 2005, but I continued to push to have meetings with the director of driver licensing, and we've had many over these years. They come and go, but we've all of them. I sat down and would say, what can we do to streamline this? What can we start doing today so when this gets here, we'll be ready to go in Kentucky? I knew I was already ready to go, but I knew that we had some work to do around. But so anyway, over the course of years, all those meetings, it was like, they heard it, but they didn't really hear it, I guess. So anyway, I'm not by any means saying anything negative about them. They had their plate full with other fires burning here. We got to take care of this, and Real ID was off in the future for them. But, from the very first day, I thought, our citizens are going to have to go to if we don't do this, we don't figure out a way, it's going to be hard enough for citizens to get their documents. And that's what I then focused on when I realized that, I've let people in Frankfurt know, I've alerted everyone I could, I talked to you all alert, we did all we could. So then I started talking to, and in fact it worked, because a lot of citizens called and said, what do I do? I said, get your birth certificate, make sure the name on your birth certificate matches your name, because I run into it all the time with people that have a different name. They go by Kathy, but their name is Catherine. All the things that people had taken for granted for years. So I really started pushing and stressing that people get their certified copies, get it corrected, get those certified copies, which is in fact still valid, good information, because they're going to need it to go to the regional office to get their Real ID. So anyway, But at the end, when we finally, I think it was 2017 or 18 of the years, but Governor Bevin was in office, and this is when I guess the federal government was really forcing the hand on this issue. So I don't really know what happened up there, but all of a sudden, Real ID's coming. And, we've got to do this, this, and this. And there was a lot of requirements that circuit court clerks just couldn't meet because they didn't have staffing for it. There wasn't staffing to do all this extra. And it has, I'm not making light of it because it is a lot of extra work, but that's my job. That's what my staff has to do, and we've done that. And I'm very proud of that. I'm proud that we did it. I'm proud that, because to me, I was doing what I needed to do to protect our local citizens, because if you saw a driver's license that I had issued in Nelson County from someone from Egypt or California or wherever, you knew that information had been verified. So, and if you were going to rent or sell something to this person, I mean, it was, to me, again, that's just part of protecting our citizens.
So in essence, we had a Real ID.
We've had a Real ID here since 1988. Except for our Kentucky citizens.
Right.
Now, when you in 1988, if 16-year-old comes in and get his license, they bring the birth certificate, Social Security, proof of residency. So at that point, we started from there. But all the people before that had just walked, had come in with whatever documentation we were allowed to take at that time. But yes, you're right about that. So. But in point of that is that circuit court clerks, finally, when we were realizing that it was coming, and all these things and these mandates that we needed to do, we just couldn't competently do it. So they were saying, we want to offer a higher level of license, a better license, and all the things that in my meetings over the years with Frankfurt, and saying we need to be able to help someone in a nursing home get a license. We need to be able to let them mail in an application. They just needed to be able to get an MRI. They don't need to drive, So all these things that we were trying to get done, transportation couldn't do at that time because they didn't have the funding, because we had 147 offices. So that's a lot of offices to get this better, nicer equipment in to better serve the citizens. So now I think we have 27 regional offices, which is I'm not making light of it. It is inconvenient for people instead of walking in and getting something. But now that they have only 27 offices, they've got much better equipment, and they can offer, they can let people do things online that they couldn't pay for the programming apparently at that time. So
now will people be able to get their licenses online? Now?
Yes, you can do that today. Now, if you want to
or by mail,
yes. And I have a note over here on that. It's like you can, and I've got the application here. There's an application you do online. This is a handout that I do at my office that I don't know if they can see or whatever, but this online application, all of this. But your friend, if you have a pen and pencil out here, your best friend is going to be this website I'm getting ready to give you. It's drive.ky.gov. Their phone number there is 502-564-1267. However, I know in my office, when we have someone that has a problem now with license, last week we waited 58 minutes on the phone to get through. Because they're busy. They're busy.
Sure.
But so the website has just a lot of information, and I've been frustrated at times because things would change and they wouldn't advise us. And we didn't know that, hey, we did this for years, but we can't do it anymore. And so, but the drive.ky.gov is where they put everything. So before I answer a citizen's question, 100% of the time, I'll go to that website and make sure that it hadn't changed, because I don't like telling someone something that's wrong. It's been very frustrating for me, but now I just learned to depend on it. So for any driver's license need. But while you got your pen and pencil in hand, also write down this one. If you have a new driver, a 16-year-old, or someone that's let their license expire, they have to take a written or a skills test, or a CDL driver or anything. That website is KentuckyStatePolice.org. So it's ORG on the end, not gov. KentuckyStatePolice.org. So those are two very important websites, and for people that are not computer savvy, it's another world for us. But our driver's license, that's where we are. There's nothing I can do about it. And people call me all the time, and I then get over on and try to do it, and I wait like they do. So, but I have been able to. There's been some people I've been able to help, and I'm very grateful that I can still do that. Of course, we're still issuing license, so I still have the computer there. I can get in and work in, but after the 27th, I won't have that anymore.
Well, Diane, I understand that you used your influences to help us be one of the last counties to convert here.
Well, I've made myself, that in all the years of driving to Frankfort and the many days there, they know that I have a passion for this, and so it wasn't too tough. Jimmy Higdon called me. Of course, I lost 3 employees in 2020 when they made the decision that driver's license was leaving. Now, we didn't have to let anyone go, but through attrition. Right. Well, I had 3 deputies during the COVID that had other opportunities to work from home or do these things. So I lost them. So we've been down 3 people since 2020, and still doing driver's license today. But that's okay. I mean, we've managed. We keep. I've got a fantastic staff that knows when you come to work there, it's a working office, and we are very busy. And so yes, I did ask to be the last county in the state if they had to take them, and right. So I'm in that.
Well, I think that's a tribute to all the work you've done at the state level. I don't think most people would know how active you have really been at the state level, and were able to use your influence.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
To the extent that people would listen.
But I felt like, even though it takes a lot of time and time away from my desk, so then my desk gets stacked up when I'm there, but to be able to help citizens in Nelson County, I have found over the years, I have to be up there explaining what it's like for people on the other side of the county.
Right.
Because they're up there and they don't see that. And this is on all, legislative issues, driver licensing, staffing, all kinds of issues that I've driven up there to work on. But again, I feel like that's part of my job.
Now, well, Diane, give us an update, and how much longer will your office be doing renewals and doing driver's licensing, and then where will we go for in the future?
Yes.
For I know there's regional offices, but and I think I know where some are, but I'm not.
Yes.
Is there a designated? From the TV commercials I've seen, you can go to any regional office you wish.
Yes.
Which is convenient.
Yes.
But going to a regional office may not always feel convenient. But
it's going to be very, very different. That's what people that have done it have said to me, and I'm just so grateful. So many of them will call me and thank me and say, "Thank you, you spoiled me. I didn't realize how spoiled we were here." And even though they had appointments, they had to wait. And equipment goes down. I mean, we have issues with our equipment going down a lot, but now they have new equipment, and apparently it's going down also. So I have not personally been in that office, but our office for Nelson County citizens as of today is Hardin County. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk to you toward the end about what I'm working on to get us an office in Nelson County, what I've done. But for right now, today, we don't have to go to Hardin County, we can go to any regional office. If you work in Louisville or Lexington or Paducah, there's offices near there. You just go on to this drive.ky, click where you want to go, and you can go right in there and renew. Now, the difference is if you're testing, if you have to go for testing with state police, we have to go to Hardin County.
Okay.
We don't have that option because kids have made appointments. They couldn't get appointments back during the pandemic. They were and they would get an appointment in another county, and then when they got there that day, they were turned away. Parents had missed work. They'd missed school, and oh no, you don't live here, so you can't get the test here. So people just didn't know that, and so that's the difference. You can go anywhere to renew your license,
right,
or if you lost it, or if you change your address. But if you want to take a test, you have to go to Hardin County, as it is today.
Right, and for those of us who just want a simple renewal and are not seeking to upgrade to a Real ID compliant, you're able to do that online.
Yes, sir. And it's very and the key is if you're not changing your address.
Right.
If you're changing your address, you have to do it by mail, which is still a service, and I'm glad they're doing that. So there's few little different things you have to do. But if you're just renewing a regular license or a Real ID, if you go over and get your Real ID and you do all your documentations, as of today, you can go online and get your duplicate. If you lost your Real ID, you can get a duplicate or a renewal. So that's, one of the things that we've just begged for so many years. Arizona's been doing it, I don't even know, 20 years maybe. But so we have begged for that so people that need that service could use it. So they just couldn't afford it. They said they didn't have programming. So
now Real ID is separate from your driver's license.
Yes.
So you can have one or the other, or you can have both.
No, ma'am, you can't have both. You either have a Real ID credential, they call it, or you have just a standard credential. So you can have, Jimmy Higdon he brought this up in an article several years ago when he said, if you have a passport, all you need is your regular license. You don't need to so that's what I'm personally doing right now.
Right.
I have a passport, so I'm not going to worry about next May when the deadline is that you have to have a Real ID to get on a plane.
Right.
Because I have a passport. And passports, the fees are not, $125 or $50, I don't know, for 10 years. So, and if you don't wait and let it expire at the last minute or wait and try to expedite it, that's when it gets
you gotta
double the cost there.
You have to allow several months.
Yes, you do. Yes,
Yeah.
you do. But so when Senator Higdon said that, that's I told a lot of people that because it took some stress off of them. Most people, not most people, 50% at least have passports. So you can go get on a plane. My only concern when I talk to people, they'll say, "Can I just do that?" I'll say, "Yes, you can." But now my concern, because I'm personally doing it, is I'm afraid if I ever get a chance to go to Florida or somewhere and I go get on a plane, I'm going to be afraid that I've forgotten to bring my passport because I'm not leaving the country. Then so that's just a whole new way of thinking for us. That if we don't have the Real ID, but later when I renew the next time, which will be 4 years, or when things get a little more streamlined and appointments, etc., I'm sure I'll get one at that point. But.
Right, and it's my understanding that if you're not going to use a passport for international travel, you can get the smaller, the card version.
Oh, you can? I didn't know that.
You can, but I think it's still the same price, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
So really the benefit, that card has limitations. So, So, the little card is handy, and I have seen people, but I don't, I think, my thought process, if I'm going to pay this much for this, I might as well go on and get my picture made as much as I can and get it. So, but there is a card, and it's helpful. People used to use them all the time to go to Canada to fish.
Yeah.
Well, my only line of thought, Diane, was that I would be less likely to lose the card if it's stuck in my wallet than I would if it was than the actual passport book.
Yes. Or like my fear of getting there without it. If you got always carry it, that's a very good point.
Well, when I go by plane, I've got this little special little bag I hang over my neck, and I keep my passport and boarding tickets and all that in there. So if you keep that in there and you always use it when you get on the plane, which being such a klutz, I lose stuff. And as long as I've got it hanging around my neck, I won't lose it. So, but that works for me.
But yeah, the people that are required to have them, just so they know, are a passport, are anyone that's 18 years or older, or if they want to go on a military base, or a federal building that requires ID. So, some people have said to me, I'm not going to fly, I'm not going whatever, and I was like, well, then.
Do they have to have it to get into a courthourse?
No, not unless it's a federal building. If it's a federal building that requires it, I don't know, and our courts, you do not have to have an ID to get in.
Right. But, you say, well, I'll never do that, but you don't know.
That's what.
Because there's so many different offices in a federal courthouse.
Oh. Yeah, right. I'll never forget one of the little sisters out at Nazareth years ago. She was getting ready to get on a plane and didn't have any form of ID. And I mean, she was literally in her 80s, I think, and had managed fine without it all these years. But her brother died in Pennsylvania, so she was flying. So we had to scurry around to get documents and get everything because it was her first time.
Yeah, she'd never been on a plane.
So anyway, but you don't know when that might happen. Anytime people say to me, "Oh, I'm never going to do that," I'm like, "Really? I don't know." But if you feel good about it,
you don't know what's coming up.
Right.
But anyway, they, as I said, we had 147 offices, and now that they have just the 27, and they talk about maybe having 3 or 4 more, which I'm praying that Nelson County is going to be one of those. I've done a lot of documentation and a lot of work and crunched a lot of numbers to send this report to them that I'm going to show you here in a bit. But another thing they're going to do after we haven't heard anything about it here in Nelson because we're still issuing license, but other counties that have given up license over the past year, they have something called a pop-up that comes to their counties twice a year, and they can go in and people in the county that if they don't have a regional office in that county, they can go to these pop-ups. However, just to FYI to people, I hear that those appointments go many times before they ever make it to the county.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard. These pop-ups just can't handle the volume that it would be needed. So, I don't want to. If you are mobile and can get to another community, you have a good car, and it's not you don't have to take off a day's work, then do it. But save those appointments for people that don't have that luxury. Because we got some people that don't. That is a luxury to them. So, but I don't know when we'll get ours. It may be since we're just giving them up in the June, we may not get one here until. But I will say this, even though we're going to be the last county, we're busy with driver's license every single day.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's amazing to me that we just are nonstop, people in line. So I just I can't. There's nothing I can do about it. But they're going to be looking for appointments.
Well, Diane, people may ask, when you're not doing driver's licenses, are you not going to have anything to do?
Oh, well, they have asked that. One lady said.
So tell us what you're going to be doing.
One lady said to my driver's license deputy, "Well, what are they going to do with this building?" And,
They'll find a purpose for it.
Yes, and what are you all going to do? Are you going to lose your job? Well, I have to remind people that my constitutional duty is to. I'm sworn as the circuit court clerk, which is the keeper of the court records.
Right.
I've never been paid a nickel to do a driver's license. I don't work for the money, so it doesn't concern me. But we've done it just because we knew the people in our community needed driver's license close to home. We're the we're the only circuit elected officials in the nation that do driver's license. And that has been true for I don't know how many years. Now, my theory when we were having these meetings and things in Frankfurt is like, okay, so let's show them how it's done. And let's be the leader to say, get elected officials in these communities that can serve people in every county. So, I live in a fairy tale world, but I still just think, just because we're the last ones doesn't mean we haven't been doing a great job, and we have, I think. So.
Well, Diane, I will tell you that for a number of years back in my youth, I worked in southern Indiana, and I actually lived over there for several years. But I never got a Indiana driver's license. At that time, and you may recall hearing this in the news years ago, their branch licensing system was politicized. And, if you were the party in Indianapolis, I guess, you controlled who got the privilege of operating the license branch. It was very political. And I thought, and going from Kentucky to there, I thought this was like stepping out on Mars. And I thought, and it was the service, people complain constantly about the poor customer service, et cetera. Anyway, I never got an Indiana driver's license. But, and I remember at some point while I was there, there were some investigations and some criminal charges about the way, the poor handling of that whole system. And I think it later was revamped to try to make it more of a system to provide service and not provide patronage, So, so I think it was improved eventually, but
that is one of the counties. I was one of 5 circuit clerks that they loaded up in a van and took to Indiana to see how they did driver's licensing. When they were going to have the real ID was going to be done by circuit clerks at this point, and they were showing us this is the way it's going to be set up and this whatever. And I cannot tell you how hard that was for me to watch. People came in, it was a big room, you had to take a number, and then you had to sit in a chair, and then you went up to a chair, and then you did something, then you went back to the chair. And the people that were there with us from Frankfurt were pretty excited about that process and how it was going, and I was like, come out and see, see how
it should be done.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's different, and yet, as I've said before, I've proven that it could be done. It's not. It takes some time, but we needed the programming. The real problem was the programming they were providing was not going to allow us to help the citizen, because they were going to be standing in lines while we were doing some things in the system that could have been done in the central office.
Right.
And I was begging, please, you all do this so we can do this on the front line. I cannot live with customers standing in line out front of our building, and that's what's going to happen if we're mandated to do this. So anyway, it was a struggle. It was a long time. There were some great people in Frankfurt. I'm not saying they're doing their job. I was trying to do mine down here, and I feel good about it, but I didn't win, so I'm not happy about that.
Well, Diane, tell us a little bit now. The website again. That people can go to for kind of the clearinghouse for all information regarding Real ID and renewing your driver's license.
Yes, sir.
And that's drive.ky.gov. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
All right.
That is your friend. Everything's on there and up to the minute. And if you got a printer at home, print it, take it with you when you go. So this is what I was told. This is what was there at the time in case something happened. At least, I'm a big advocate for when people could tell me I called Frankfurt. Who did you talk to? Because I can call that lady back and get her to help you. But so that.
Do you want to give that phone number again?
Yes, but again, they're very busy up there. If you got 564-1267, it's a 502 area code. 502-564-12.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
502-564-1257.
All right. Now, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Review quickly the the real ID requirements as far as getting documents together? I know there's more. I'm sure there's a checklist on the website, and you have reviewed these for us in the past. But if somebody is wanting to get a real ID this time, when next time their driver's license comes up for renewal, what sort of documents do they need to get together?
Well, the most important, of course, is a certified copy of a birth certificate. Now, they also will take a passport.
Okay.
I would not take a passport because I received passports that had assumed names on the passports. So when I was doing real ID requirements, I wouldn't accept it. And I showed the people in Frankfurt proof of birth certificate and passports that didn't match. But you know, if you all have passports, you know that if you have a name that you've used for 5 years, you can send them documentation and they will add that to your passport. So that's why I wouldn't take the passport, because that's not your birth certificate. Either that's a requirement or it's not. So,
right.
So you know, but they accept a passport.
Okay.
And and again, as I said earlier, when people ask me, I go to that website and check it. What does it say today? What is because it's grown. They've grown and realized, hey, this won't work. We shouldn't take this. You know, for example, they had insurance policies when they were giving it to us to accept. And I said, insurance policies, is that a home insurance? Is that a car insurance? Is that a life insurance? Because my citizen won't know that, and
right.
they will come in, and I don't want them to make a trip. So what I required when I did a real ID requirement was a birth certificate, certified copy, a Social Security card, and your proof of residency. If you were lucky enough to own a home, you just took your deed to show this is where I live. You can also bring 2 utility bills. Now, there's some other things they will take. There's a whole long list of things, but I don't know when you get to that office if they will have those questions like I just had about the insurance.
Right.
So to be safe, and you know, a lot of my female friends have said my name's not on the utility bills, my husband's on there. And so again, when I've been talking about this for years, well, go get that added, go get something, because this is what you're going to need. So but there is a long list of things on there, but you need your Social Security card, you need your birth certificate.
Now and we had talked in the past about Social Security names on the cards versus, you know, and for example, my wife's a great example of this. Her Social Security card and her name on her driver's license don't match, and that could be a problem.
It is a problem. Yes, it is, because they have to match. And now what may happen is, even though it's not on her card, she may have in the Social Security data center, she may have a also known as.
Right.
Her maiden name may be on there, or her mother's, or her middle name that she. I don't know. I've seen so many variations of that, but they have to match, or our system would lock us out if we couldn't match that Social Security. We couldn't issue. If it was my sister, I couldn't. It blocked me. I couldn't do anything with it. So it is, and it's out there a lot. There's a lot of.
So is that a situation that needs to be remedied before
Yes.
you can apply?
Well, before you go over there and stand in line and then get sent home. But
Right.
but if she got her license renewed here, and she's had it for years like that, it's in the system, in the Social Security. So she's going to be okay.
Okay.
So it would have locked us out. We wouldn't have been able to renew her last time, because we've been doing this. You know, our systems, that's another thing. They've just gotten slowed down over the years. The State Board of Elections connects to our system.
Right.
Social Security, Kentucky State Police, they all connect to our system trying to issue a driver's license. And if their system goes down, we go down. And that is just not a good idea.
Right.
I mean, you know, I know we can backfill things, but back to answer your question, because I had that in my notes here, that, you know, people, unfortunately, our citizens here don't realize what all we do in that building.
Right.
And thank God they don't, because that means they haven't had a life event that brings them there. You know, like divorces, child custody, car accidents, there's just so many things, criminal cases, probate, you've lost a loved one. I mean, we handle everything that has anything to do with the courts, from running a stop sign to murder. I mean, there is just not, our office handles all of those records, and over the years, we just keep getting more and more things added in there. But we do, so
you're
people
not
don't have
going
to
to lack
worry
for
about
you're
us.
not going to lack for things to do.
Yeah, we will not. We still have plenty to do. We have but someone said, so are you going to start doing anything new? And I was like, well, my staff will say, because they just kind of sometimes just say, oh no. But I mean, I'm constantly looking for things to be able to add services. Now, if someone asks me a question 3 or 4 times, I'm thinking I need to do a handout for that, because if someone asks, other people don't ask, and they need that information. So I'm constantly trying to add services, just like I did in '88 when I knew this is something that needs to be done. No one knew anything about it. I don't talk about it. I just do it. So I do it. But yeah, we're going to be. But I still want citizens here to know, I know we're running out of time, that if I can do anything to help with this driver's license transition, please call on me. I don't want them to think, oh no, she's not doing that anymore.
And what's your number at the office?
Okay, 502-348-3648. Now, again, remember that I'm going to have to check this website most of the time. But if it's something, one fellow says to me, I stood in line for 4 hours in the 90-degree heat last summer. And that's not the reason I'm calling you. The reason I'm calling you is there was an elderly man in front of me that was on oxygen. And he wanted to go to the bathroom, and they wouldn't let him go to the bathroom. So, I immediately called our Senator Higdon, and he was as upset as I was, and he changed that. So citizens don't always know who to call to how to make that complaint, but our citizens cannot be treated like that. So, and in their defense over there, I'm not saying anything about them. They're trying to get up and running. They've got things they don't think about, that kind of thing. Right. So, but I'm here to do whatever I can to help in the transition.
All right. Well, Diane, we need to take a break. We got some commercials to get in before the top of the hour, and we'll be back in just a moment. Please stay tuned. All right, you're back with Bradford and Brooks. Again, thanks, Diane Thompson, Nelson Circuit Court Clerk, for being our guest today. And we'll be back next Wednesday with another Bradford and Brooks. Until then, have a great week, everybody.